Today we begin with the chapter number 5, laws of motion. Okay. In the previous chapter our concern was to describe the motion of the particle in space. Okay, we saw that uniform motion needs the concept of velocity alone. We were concerned about velocity alone, and in the non-uniform motion we were concern or we have a concept of acceleration. Okay, now we have till not asked the question as to what governs the motion of the bodies, why the objects are brought in motion or how they are brought in motion. Okay, now first we can guess the answer based on our common experience. To move a football at rest, someone must kick it. Means external agency must be there to bring the object in motion. Okay, so one more example, if you want to bring the object which is lying on the table, then you require some external push or pull. Some external thing must be there to bring that book or an object to bring in motion. Okay, just by thinking and sitting idle we cannot bring the object in motion. Okay, so there must be some external agency needs to provide the force to move the body from rest. Okay, likewise the external agency or force must be there to retard or stop the motion. If you want to stop anything, then you need to apply the force from outside. You can stop a ball rolling down an inclined plane by applying the force against the direction of the motion. So in these examples, external agency, that is force, is in contact with the object. So all these forces are contact forces. See, try to understand. When you require a force or when you apply the force, you need a contact. Then those forces are contact forces. But when you just release the ball from the top of the building, then it automatically goes on the earth. Then earth's gravitational pull is applying the force, and this is the force which does not require the contact. Okay, the magnet which is exerting the force on the nails, then it also does not require any contact. Okay, so there are force fields which are not requiring the contact to exert the force. They are considered to be force fields, while those some of the examples in which the contact is required, then they are all called the contact forces. Okay, now we have understood that we require a force for the object to bring it in motion. Okay, but what if body is moving uniformly? Uniformly means it is moving with constant speed. Okay, is an external force required to keep a body in uniform motion? Now there is a question which is asked here. Is an external force required to keep a body in motion? Now there is Aristotle's fallacy. This question was thought of by Aristotle, 384 BC, all these things are given, just to read. Now he thought that when an object is moving on the surface, then an external force is required to keep a body in motion. This is our experience. If you throw a ball on the ground, then after some displacement or after some distance travelled by it, it stops. Okay, so a force is required to keep that ball moving with a uniform velocity. Okay, now this was the thought also by Aristotle. Aristotle's law of motion is flawed, as we shall see. It was not a correct law, that we shall see. If you have, say for example, if you remove the frictional force, if you have no friction, then the object which is in motion will continue to keep its motion without stopping or without changing its direction. So this was our common observation, but if you go in deep, then if you just remove the force of friction, then we do not require continuously a force to keep the object in uniform motion. Okay, so all these things you can understand easily. Okay, now how that law became false, or it was not a correct law, that is shown here by some of the experiments which were conducted by Galileo. The law of inertia is also there. Now this is a very simple experiment that you must have studied in your 9th standard also. When an object is allowed to fall from an inclined plane, okay, then as it rolls down, its speed increases. And if you have another inclined plane which is kept at a same angle, the angle is same, say for example, then what will happen? This ball will start climbing this plane and it will reach to a highest point. But if you just have an observation, then the height of both are same, then the height of ball which is attained by it is approximately same as that of the height which it was thrown from the initial plane. So this height, initial height, and the height attained will be approximately same. Now if you just keep this plane at lower angle, then this ball will reach at this particular height by traveling more distance. If you keep still a smaller angle, then the ball will reach to the same height. Try to understand. Here it will reach by traveling more distance. Okay. Provided you have a very smooth surface, approximately it will reach here. So every time it is traveling more distance. Now still a smaller angle is there, then it will reach somewhere here to attain the same height as earlier. So it travels further more distance. So if you keep this plane to be horizontal, okay, if you keep this plane to be horizontal, then our convention or our conviction says that it should move on and on. It should move on and on without stopping, because there is no height as such to attain by this ball. So it has to move on and on. Okay, provided, now try to understand, there is no friction. We have all convention that it will stop after, but stop before. Why the ball stops? Because there is a frictional force against the motion. Okay, if there is no friction, then this ball would have gone to its infinite, or we can say it can go on and on. This is shown here in this figure. Okay, so the object which is in motion will try to remain in motion. From this we can understand that if this object is in motion, then it will try to remain in its motion if the force is not applied. Okay, so you can understand it very easily that this ball will go on and on, okay, if external force is not applied. So the object is try to maintain its state of motion. Object tries to maintain its state of motion if the external force is not applied. Till that time, what will happen? It will try to remain in its original state of motion. And this tendency of keeping the state of motion as it is, or we can say there is always a resistance to change, and this property of the body is called the inertia. Okay, inertia is the property of the body by which it tries to retain its state of rest, then it will try to keep its state of rest as it is. Or if the body is in motion, then it tries to move with a constant velocity, Okay, so both the states, that is state of rest and state of motion, both are equivalent. these states are maintained by the object, and it is the object which is always try to maintain its state of either motion or either that of rest. Okay, and this property is known as the inertia. Okay, so to summarize, if the net external force is 0, if external force is not acting, that is the prerequisite. Okay, external force is not there, friction or anything. Body at rest continues to remain at rest, and a body in motion continues to move with a uniform velocity. This property of body is called the inertia. Okay, and this property of the body is called inertia, and inertia means resistance to change. Okay, now Newton's first law of motion is based on this property of inertia. Okay, just it is studied by you in the 9th standard by you. Every body continues to be in its state of rest or of uniform motion in straight line unless it is compelled by some external force to act otherwise. Okay, if there is no force, then it will try to maintain its state of motion. If the net external force on the body is 0, its acceleration is 0. Acceleration can be non-zero only if there is a net external force on the body. If there is net external force, then there must be an accelerated motion. Try to understand. If there is no force which is applied from outside, then the body will maintain its state of motion. If it is at rest, then it will continue to be at rest, and if it is in motion, then it will continue to be in motion, that is uniform motion with constant velocity. It will not either change its speed, not increase and decrease in speed, and no change in its direction also. Okay. Now there are certain examples which are discussed. Okay, here, okay, we consider a book at rest on the horizontal surface. Okay, in a horizontal surface we consider a book which is lying. Okay, now it is subject to two external forces: the force due to gravity, which is weight, okay, acting in downward, an upward force that is on the book by the table, that is a normal force. Now try to understand. The book is having its weight in downward direction, and the other force which is applied by the surface in the upward direction, which is R. This is W. Both the forces are same. That is why this book is remaining on the surface of the table. One of the force is more. Say for example, if R is more, then the book will start flying in the air. But this does not happen. Similarly, if weight would have been more than this R, then there must be a pit, or there will be a kind of hole in the table and the book will fall down. Okay, but it does not happen. Both the forces are in equilibrium, so net force is 0. Whenever the forces are in equilibrium, we say that net force is 0. Okay, so W and R, these are the forces, they are cancelling out each other's effect. Okay, and therefore the book remains at the rest. Neither it flies off nor it goes inside the table. Okay, consider the motion of the car starting from the rest, picking up speed and then moving on smooth straight road with uniform speed, that is shown in this figure. Okay, when the car is stationary, there is no net force acting on it. During pickup, it accelerates. This must happen due to the net external force. Note, it has to be an external force. Try to understand. The acceleration of the car cannot be accounted for by any internal force. It is the external force. This might sound surprising, but it is true. The only conceivable external force along the road is the force of friction. So it is the force of friction. Try to understand, frictional force that accelerates the car as a whole. Okay, external force must be there. External force only the resistive, or we can say the frictional force is present, and that frictional force is responsible for the acceleration of car. Okay, when the car moves with constant velocity, there is no net external force. Okay, the property of inertia contained in the first law is evident in many situations. You can understand this by a simple example which you have already studied: passenger in the bus. When the bus is moving, your whole body is in motion. Okay, and when the sudden brakes are applied, then there is a frictional force between the legs, rather your feet, and the surface of the bus. Okay, so that frictional force provides you the balancing, or you do not go in the forward direction, but your body, upper part of the body is in motion. So what will happen? When the brakes are applied, the upper part of the body tries to remain in motion because it was earlier in motion, so that part leans in forward direction, you lean forward. Similar thing happens when the bus starts suddenly. Okay, your body tries to remain at rest. Okay, and the bus suddenly comes in motion, then what will happen? The body, or we can say the legs, are moving in the forward direction with the bus. Rather, your body tries to retain its state of motion, or rather retain the state of rest. So it will lean backward. Okay, so these are some of the examples of the inertia and the first law of motion which was discussed by Newton. Okay, so Newton's first law of motion you read 2-3 times, write in the notebook, and try to understand the examples. Okay, thank you very much.